Well, hello there. Something a little bit different today. I was hanging out on FPV Hub forum, where I normally do. Check it out if you haven't, it's a great little forum. And some guys from a Kickstarter project called MiniRaceWing happened to post about a project they were involved in, which surprisingly is called the MiniRaceWing. So I had a look on Kickstarter and had a look at it, because it's not often that wings come up on Kickstarter. There's been like, how many gazillion selfie type drones where you just take them out your backpack and throw them up in the air and they're supposed to follow you around and take photos, and how many have then fallen flat on their face. So anyway, I took a look at this and I thought it was really interesting, so I wanted to share it here because I was interested in getting one. So I wanted to ask you guys, do you think I should get it? So let's talk a bit more about it. So it's the brainchild of two guys from Germany called Markus and Jonathan.
Hi, I'm Markus.
And I'm Jonathan.
See, told you. They're FPV flyers, and what they found is, well, they like to push the limits with their wings, but they had the problem is, like, if you crash the wing, it's then, you know, although they're quite crash resistant, generally speaking, it's going to have pieces come off, it's going to have big rips down the wings, you're going to have to take it home, you're going to have to glue it, you're going to have to spend ages putting it back together. So they wanted to come up with a more crash resistant wing and something they can really push the boundaries on. I think they might have done it. It's called the MiniRaceWing. Not a very inventive name. It just does what it says, I suppose, although you don't have to race it. Just a wing for flying around like a crazy thing. Several really interesting innovations, I think, of it. Where normally your wing, and this is my real go-to Falcon wing, you'll have your foam wing and you'll end up doing cutouts to place your stuff on it, having worked out exactly where the CG is and where that balance is. And this is fairly strong. It's sort of mostly laminated and it's had an awful lot of crashes and it's been stuck back together. This is what all this yellow bit is various bits of glue. But yeah, the laying out of components and the making cuts means the layout is then a little bit fixed and it's not that flexible. So they've done a couple of things. The first thing isn't unique because there's other wings that do it, a bit like the new Flywings Evo stuff where they've got their center section. What they've done is come up with a carbon fiber center section, much like a mini quad with the multiple layers, to act as the real strong part where it's going to take all the components. And because this is carbon fiber, they can make the plate in the right way to really protect things like the FPV camera, and all your stuff can fit inside of that. So that's quite good on its own, but not necessarily unique. This does mean that nothing's out on the wings now, which they've managed to make the wings thinner, and apparently they're saying more efficient. But also the real cool bit is they've designed the wings so in the event of a crash at a certain velocity, the wings come off. Now this might find a little bit strange, but the damage to the wings happened because of that kinetic energy of the wing connecting with something solid and then pushing onwards. If the wings simply fly off, they lose all that energy and just sort of fall to the ground. So you've got then, if you hit a tree, the carbon fibre bit separates, falls to the ground. The wings on their own much less likely to get tangled in a tree, so they fall down and you recover it and put it back together instantly, which sounds like a really good idea. The other thing is, although I have my little small wings, this is the Hornet wing, which I absolutely love, but because it's so small, it's kind of a bit of a light wind thing. So once again, my Falcon wing here is my travel around on holidays, but it's still a metre of wing, of which we have some sticky out bits that, especially like the winglets, that we have to be a little bit careful about packing this. It always sort of goes in the car last, and I have to give that a certain amount of consideration whenever I'm putting it away. So although the wings fall off in high velocity, you can also take them off, pack it away in the backpack, which I think is brilliant. I don't do any flying where I simply get out the car and launch. Something always involves at least a 10 to 20 minute walk, often further, with a backpack, and it's really hard to carry multiple planes around with that. We do it, but it's not always easy, and just having something that can go into anything like that, I'm already sold on the idea. But wait, there's more. As I said before, when you've got this type of layout, you need to mock everything up to work out where your centre of gravity is going to be with the battery, then cut the holes in it and then work it out. With the sort of the Evo style, where it's got the centre section, you've got a little more flexibility about moving stuff back and forth. But if you ever wanted to change the battery or the motor or the camera, you could end up with real issues in having to put weight on the front or the back. So what the guys have done, and I think it really is quite an interesting innovation, is they've made several areas where you can easily change centre of gravity. You can move the wings back and forth down the carbon fibre. You can move the motor mount back and forth. And more interestingly, you can even change the thrust angle of the motor with just a couple of turns of the screwdriver. This is really interesting because, as I said, when you've got a wing and you spend all this time doing it, changing your config, changing a motor, changing a battery size, even changing an HD camera, it can be a real ball ache of trying to get that sorted again. So having that flexibility to either get extra motor mounts to swap things out, either whole centre sections, or just basically unscrewing the motor, putting a different one in, changing the battery over, and being able to adjust a CG that easily, I think is something quite interesting. So the reason I bring it up on my channel is, I thought these guys are actually doing something a little bit different on Kickstarter, but they are not funded at all. Now I know Kickstarter tends to sort of ramp up at the end, but these guys are only about a quarter of the way there with sort of half the month done. So I wanted to bring it to the attention of anybody else that was interested, just in case they hadn't heard of it and might like to get on board with that. As for me, I haven't backed them yet, but I'm kind of there. So I wanted to know, are you guys interested in seeing me test this, review it, have a go at it? I'm not involved with them. This will be my own money, of course. I'm not trying to catch a sample for review, but I like the idea, so I wanted to share it, see what you guys thought. I'll put all the details of the Kickstarter project down below in the description, but please leave me a comment, tell me what you think, especially if you're interested in me trying to get hold of one and doing it, and if you're going to get one as well, or if you think this is interesting. I'm sure the guys at the project will be really interested to know. One way or the other, I hope this sort of thing continues, because I really do think there's not that much innovation on the wings or the plane sort of side of the hobby. It's very much all about multi-rotors and, you know, what new firmware have we got on ESCs or motors today for mini quads. So it's nice to do something a little bit different. Anyway, let's see what comes of this. I'll catch you later. Bye.